think it's important in 2025 we realize as sellers where we rank on the food chain as it pertains to eBay and how important we are as sellers in their eyes. And it ain't that high, I'll tell you that right now. So I want to talk to you about that here on the other side. So without any further ado, let's go.
The following program contains disturbing materials that may not be suitable for some resellers. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is John with Flippin' Ain't Easy. Now normally I don't do reaction videos, but Don the auction professor came out with a video where he was quite livid about how a certain transaction went down that left him with negative feedback and no eBay protection. And I guess and for those of you who haven't seen it, I normally don't promote other videos, but check the link up here if you guys want to check that out. By the way, Don, there's some extra views. You owe me some royalties on that. But just for sake of kind of clarity as to what I'm talking about, maybe you should go check it out and then watch this video. Apparently, he had an interaction where he sold some items to a buyer. Now, he does not have instant payment required on his account. However, due to some offers that he had going out, eBay makes you or makes the buyer pay for that item once you accept an offer and the item is not sold. It's not out of your inventory until that buyer pays. And I don't know if it was an offer that he received or he sent, but nonetheless, it was on multiple items. And the buyer got upset because of the combined shipping issue, which eBay does not allow you to combine shipping. You have to go back in and manually give them a refund. Now, this has been going on for quite some time. Now, we don't do a whole lot of combined shipping, but we do get people who will buy, like on our secondary account, they'll buy, parts, multiple parts, and of course, we give them back the difference over and above what they pay. And I think a lot of this can be maybe squashed by just the way you communicate with your buyer, the way you communicate with them before the sale, during the sale, and after the sale. And I believe, and I don't know exactly all that went down, but I do believe that if you include the buyer, maybe even include a screenshot of kind of what you're saying to the buyer to help them understand that this is how eBay works, then things would actually would have gone maybe a little differently. I think there's a misunderstanding. If the buyer is going to leave that type of a negative feedback, there must be some kind of upset on their part that could have been maybe better handled by the seller. And again, I don't know all the facts, so I'm just saying, just me looking outside in as a viewer, that's kind of the way I kind of taken it. But here's the underlying message of this whole video. And that is, as sellers, we need to understand that eBay does not care about the individual seller. It doesn't matter if you're Don the auction professor, doesn't matter if you're Flippin' Ain't Easy, doesn't matter if you're Chris Lynn, doesn't matter if you're Joe Blow down the street who just started his account. eBay does not care about the individual seller. Now, as sellers on the whole, yes, they'll do little cute little events like eBay Open and things of that nature to make sellers on the whole feel like they care, like they really are concerned about sellers, and they'll come out with things, and they'll have little pop-ups that come up on your eBay that'll say, hey, we changed this, we changed that, tell us what you think. On the whole, they care about the sellers. Now, you get other sellers that'll say, okay, with that being the case, let's all go on strike. Well, and I saw that come up in Don's video comments. Guys, that's not a possibility, okay? You're never going to get all sellers on board to go on strike for any reason, okay? I don't care if tomorrow they took away your favorite feature on eBay, you're not going to get enough people on board to stop selling on eBay, to show eBay that we mean business. It just doesn't work that way. And while you may be the one, or maybe you organize a group of people to go on strike, it's the sellers that do not go on strike that are going to be benefiting, because they're going to be taking the customers that might have been buying from you. So I think in 2025, we need to squash this idea that somehow this is an effective strategy, that we can all form some type of a union, and eBay will then, they'll do whatever we want them to do. It's not like that. You are very replaceable. You need to know that. We just also have to realize that eBay is a corporation. Their main responsibility, their main focus is on their shareholders, and will always be. Buyers come in second, because without buyers, there's no platform. And then it's us sellers. And that's kind of where we are in the hierarchy of things. You have to understand that we are not the most important entity when it comes to this platform. It's the shareholder, then the buyer, then us. We have to understand that eBay is going to develop things that are in eBay's best interest and not necessarily the seller's best interest. They're going to allow buyers to say whatever they want to say about us without any recourse. And that's just the way the cake is baked. And as soon as you accept that, the easier selling on eBay is going to be. Now, if every seller somehow magically disappeared, they'd make a lot of changes, but we don't have enough pull to make that happen. I just want you guys to understand that. And this is someone coming from a union background. If you do not have 100% of sellers on board, heck, 80% of sellers on board, it ain't going to happen no matter what you decide to be upset about. And I think seasoned sellers like Don should understand that negative feedback by now, since eBay has given buyers many years ago the ability to write novels in our feedback, all we can do at this point is reply in kind, and to explain exactly in a professional way what we've done for our buyer. And also, you communicate with your buyer. I think I've talked about this many times on the lives, made videos about this. It's how you communicate with your buyer. If you are selling a lot of things on eBay, and the step you are avoiding is dealing with the buyer and only dealing with buyers' questions, and not being proactive with the buyer and not explaining to them, including screenshots as to here's how I'm handling this situation, or here is how I've handled your situation, you are going to end up with situations like this where buyers are confused as to what's happened and may feel like somehow you've ripped them off and leave a negative feedback. And it's nice that eBay has come out and said, hey, things out of your control, we're going to remove the negative feedback. But guys, we can't rely on that. We cannot rely on that. We cannot rely on things that people tell us on the phone when we call eBay, because there's been many a times that I've been told one thing and something else happens, or whatever they told me does not happen at all. As sellers, we also need to taper our expectations about eBay when we call them. In 2019, you could call and get a store refresh. They would go in and refresh your store, and then hours later, your sales would come back. People do that all the time. And then they decided not to allow that to happen anymore because it was being abused for the most part by a lot of sellers. Things have changed. The relationship between the sellers and eBay have changed. Even on that level, when you call in, you do not get the same level of service. You have to understand that as sellers, because I think many of us, and up until somewhat recently, myself included, have spent way too much time trying to resolve problems directly with eBay over the phone. You're better off spending that time working on things within your business than chasing eBay for any kind of a resolution. And I think what we need to understand is how the system works, how it affects our items. If we understand that we like to, like in this situation, combine items, but a certain eBay feature does not allow us to combine items, then we need to build our business and our SOP, our standard operating procedures, how we function around how eBay works. Whether it's broken, we know it's something that should be different, but is not. We need to also adjust to those problems as well. And that's why we talk about on our lives, many times we talk about the glitches, not to complain, not to cry baby, but to keep an awareness that, hey, like for instance, I'm continuing to come across on the app when I try to go in and take photos or import photos into the app, I'm trying to crop them so that I have more of the item in the image instead of just blank space. And it takes me 2 times to do that. And it's been going on for a solid month or more. And I'm sure there's been people that have complained, but eBay has not fixed it. So what's the remedy? Well, when I take my photos, I'm going to have to crop them before I upload them. Yes, it's an extra step, but it's a very similar step to than what I was taking within the eBay app. I just need to understand that eBay is broken in places. And for many of you guys would say it's very broken all over the place. But you have to understand the parts that are broken and how they affect your business. And you have to adjust your business model. And that may be as something as simple as how you communicate better with your buyer so they have an understanding of what's going on in real time, so that 2, 3 weeks down the line, they don't feel like they got ripped off when they go back and think about it. And I know many sellers, and I don't know anything about Don's business, honestly. I don't know about his business model, but you have a lot of these high volume sellers that don't interact with their buyers the way in 2025 you probably should, to avoid these negatives. Now, let me just say, if what you're trying to do is to avoid negatives in 2025, negatives don't mean nothing compared to what they meant in 2017. They just don't. I've seen too many stores that have just a flood of negatives on their account, and guess what? They're still making money. They're still enjoying the success of sellers that have perfect feedback. And while it might be more of an ego thing where you just feel like, I do nothing wrong, I didn't deserve this, or the buyer's in the wrong, and yet they have the ability to leave a negative feedback, but I can't. Well, that's part of the system, and we have to learn to accept it. Many times we allow our ego, we allow our pride to get in the way of just simple business. We cannot allow these glitches to affect our operation. We have to adjust to them. We cannot allow buyers who eBay's given the power to, we cannot allow them to ruin our outlook because they've left a negative or two on our account. Yes, we should do everything we can within the system to try to fight those, but not to the level of calling eBay whenever there's an issue. And I used to be very, very guilty of that. And back in 2019, when eBay came to Vegas, the selling point in my mind was, wow, you get concierge. Well, for me, that would have been an excellent thing because I was always encountering problems and calling eBay and trying to get those things resolved. Instead of just accepting these problems, I was always fighting these things and staying on the phone with eBay, getting different answers, getting different reps, uh, having false expectations, and not all this the entire time not managing my expectations of eBay, to understand that half the time people weren't giving me correct information to begin with, and the system that eBay has is very broken. So somebody actually has the intent of helping you, it's not followed through with. And so by now, I do call eBay every blue moon, but it's nowhere near worth the $500 that it would have cost to go to eBay Live to get the concierge. If they offered this year, which they won't, but if they offered the eBay Live in Vegas, and it's local for me to travel, all I have to do is pay $500 and you get the concierge in addition to the experience, I'm probably going to pass because I don't call eBay enough as compared to what I used to. So for me, it's just not something that's within my business model anymore. I've changed, I've adapted to know that eBay doesn't put a whole lot of weight on how I think about them. Their reps are going to do what they can to get off the phone. Very few really follow through when they say they're going to call you back. And you just got to understand that it's a crapshoot when you're trying to get feedback removed, or if you're trying to get something handled that eBay has said that you can have handled. Well, you can't put all your eggs in that basket. You can't rely on that happening, unfortunately. Even if you get names or SR numbers when you call in, things can change from agent to agent and rep to rep. And you might have someone who's willing to remove the feedback for you. I believe that there are reps out there who still have that power, regardless of what they might tell you. But it isn't worth chasing. If you get a negative feedback, and I've had some this year, you just put a nice professional reply, reach out to your buyer, see if you can fix the issue. But I think a lot of that can be avoided simply by how you interact with your buyers, not from when they message you, but once they buy your item, or even reach out to you and express interest in your item, that's when that relationship begins. And if you're willing to really work with these people, I can tell you that a lot of these negatives can get fixed. And this is something I've seen in my own account, where just being proactive with my buyer has avoided many negative feedback situations already. And I haven't, knock on wood, haven't had a negative feedback in the last couple months on either account. And I tie it directly into the way I interact with my buyer. And also, I don't care anymore. I don't get tied into all this BS like I used to. I don't. Now, I will share things with you guys, but I am not emotionally invested the way I used to get really upset when someone would leave me a negative feedback, or when something didn't go the way I wanted to, like a return for a false reason. I just understand that eBay doesn't care. And as much as I care, and nobody's going to care more than me in my business, and nobody's going to care more than you about your business, you have to accept that eBay is just the platform, and they ain't on your side. Okay? They're not on your side. They're there to make money for themselves. So that's the message today, guys. eBay doesn't care. Don was right. Don, the auction professor, was right. eBay doesn't care. But I think eBay hasn't cared for a long time. They haven't cared for a long time. It's a long time coming that eBay has actually cared about the sellers. And we need to understand that. Stop looking to form unions, and just build that into your business model, that eBay may say something and they may not deliver upon it, and have a backup contingency plan when that happens or doesn't happen, so that you don't make yourself crazy. And just understand that if you go away tomorrow, eBay is going to replace you with someone else. So I want to know what you guys think down below. Put your comments down below. Figuring out how to adjust to all the problems that eBay gives us, and all the false promises that they give us, and all their broken systems that they give us. Well, developing a mindset to get past it all is yet another example of how flipping ain't easy. And I want you guys to have an excellent rest of your day, and we will talk to you here very soon. Take care.
Chargebacks, returns, and lowball offers too. Zero takedowns, they're a pain, what can we do? High selling fees, bad buys, and rude buyers galore. Flipping ain't easy, but we keep coming back for more. All resellers are gonna make mistakes. Learn from them and you'll have what it takes. In the world of reselling, we're your guide. With flipping ain't easy by your side. Sourcing great items is the key to success. Subscribe to the channel and stand above the rest. Focus on the thing that is within your control. Hang with flipping ain't easy. Let's roll! Catch the live streams on Mondays and Fridays. Join the Discord community for the parlays. Tune into the podcast. Profit Playbook's the name. With Scott and Josh, flipping's more than a game. All resellers are gonna make mistakes. Learn from them and you'll have what it takes. In the world of reselling, we're your guide. With flipping ain't easy by your side. Catch the live streams on Mondays and Fridays. Join the Discord community for the parlays. Tune into the podcast. Profit Playbook's the name. With Scott and Josh, flipping's more than a game. Catch the live stream Labels the name with Scott and Josh. This is more than a game.